All right. Like we are all here. Let's go ahead and get started.
Gregory, sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. My iPad is just buffering. I don't even have access to like my screen. I'm touching it and nothing's happening. So
okay, let's wait a couple minutes and
maybe I'll just try and shut it down and get back on. I don't know what else to do. I'll do that. Okay.
Hey, Danielle.
Yes, hi, Frank.
Hey, did you get my answers to those questions today?
Yes, thank you very much.
Were those okay? I wasn't sure if you were looking for more detail or.
Nope, that was perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm good, Gregory. I have access. I don't know what happened before. Sorry about that, guys.
April, are you good to go now? Okay. All right, so thanks for your patience, everyone. This is the meeting of the Board of the Directors of Valley of the Sun Waldorf Education Association, better known as Desert Marigold School. So I will say the opening verse and we'll get started. The true aim of education is to awaken real powers of perception and judgment in relation to life and living, for only such an awakening can lead to true freedom. That is from Rudolf Steiner. And with that said, I am Gregory Schneider. I'm the board president. And let's go around and introduce ourselves, starting today with Mr. Tanner.
John Tanner, board member.
Thank you. And Danielle?
Good evening, Danielle Martinez, board member.
Wonderful. Dan?
Dan Franks, treasurer.
And April.
April Sauer, board secretary.
And last but not least, Frank.
Frank Marizio, executive director.
All right. So we have a fairly full agenda this evening. So we have an executive session to talk about some threatened litigation against the school by a former employee. We're going to interview candidates for board positions. We're going to talk about some financial matters. We'll hear updates from Frank about everything going on at the school. And then last but not least, we'll talk about COVID and especially the conflicting messages and mandates we're getting from various government entities. So with that said, I will move to go into executive session and invite our executive director, Frank Marizio, into that executive session, along with our attorneys, to consider the school's position and instruct our attorneys regarding our position in threatened litigation or in settlement discussions conducted in order to avoid or resolve litigation with a former employee of the school.
Second.
Thank you, Danielle. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. So I will leave this Zoom meeting open, and members of the public and board member candidates hang out here. I'm not anticipating this is going to be a lengthy executive session, but we might be 15, 20 minutes or a little bit longer. So hang out here. Board members, you should have the link to the separate executive session in your inbox. And Frank, you should have that too. So let's hop on over there, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes, folks. Thanks. So, thanks everybody for your patience. We are trickling in back from our executive session. Went a little longer than I had hoped, but we'll get started here in just another minute. And while we're waiting, I am going to promote the board member candidates to panelists so that they can speak and show their faces while we interview them.
Am I going to be limited to how many questions I can ask?
We're going to stick with the script for today. May 5th, in celebration of Cinco de Mayo. You can ask whatever you want, Danielle. I'm not. Oh, there. And I'm not seeing the 5th person on this list of attendees. Am I missing it, April?
I don't see him on there.
Let me shoot him a text message real quick. Oh, Nick sent me an email. He had a work emergency. He's not able to speak tonight. So he said I'll reapply at a later date. I apologize for the inconvenience. We'll proceed with the 4 of you. All right, those questions up. Apologies for the delay. I'm just trying to, here we go. Okay, so since I'm the president, I'm going to start and get us going with the easiest question first. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll start with Barb. And we're going to please keep your answers to a minute so that everybody has time to speak and our meeting doesn't go until midnight. And everyone here and everyone watching will thank you. All right, so Barb, go ahead.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Is that my minute?
No, not sure what, it sounds like somebody else's phone. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay, shall I keep going? Okay. I am a wife of 31 years, a mom to 4 children. I have a senior currently at Desert Marigold. He will be our 3rd graduate from Desert Marigolds High School. I've been a community member for over a decade, and I was employed by the school as the high school administrative assistant for 8 years, and I loved every minute of it. I made really great friends, and I discovered an amazing love for Waldorf education and for the community as a whole. And I'd say I found a newfound passion with Waldorf education, and I wanted to share that with the community. So I created the Humble Hive, which you may or may not have heard of. It was a peer-led, all things Waldorf inspired monthly group where we spotlighted teachers or books or speakers that helped educate our community. And I also created at that time a book club, a monthly book club that was also based on Waldorf inspired, all things Waldorf inspired. And I would love to continue to serve the school. And I'm not sure if my minute is up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Barb. All right, I'm just going on the rotation on my Zoom screen here. So we'll turn to Kirsten next.
Hello, I'm Kirsten Kabina, and I have 2 children at Desert Marigold, a 2nd grader and a 4th grader. I am part of parent council. I do animal care, and I enjoy gardening. How's that? I made up the time.
Thank you. All right, Nellie, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Nellie Rosenbacher. This is our 1st year in Desert Marigold. I have 2 sets of twins. My girls, Amelia and Charlotte, are in 5th grade, and my boys, Thomas and William, are in 7th grade. We just moved here from New York this school year. And before that, from parent-child, we were involved and enrolled in a Waldorf school in New York. So I have a vested interest in Waldorf. I have a vested interest in continuing Waldorf education for my kids and carrying them through high school.
Wonderful, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Adeline.
Hi, I'm Adeline Carrera. I'm nervous. So I first came to the school when my youngest daughter was in 8th grade. She's 11th grader now, and I have a current kindergarten student at DMS. Before all of that, we were originally from Prescott, and I had started going to school there at Yavapai College and had a small little paragraph that talked about Waldorf education. And from there, it sprung into I need to know more, and found out there were actually 2 Waldorf trained teachers in town that I happened to know. And that was at the time Kim Martin, Michael Martin's ex-wife, and Gina Hahn. and they actually both were able to be my mentors. I chose them. Anyhow, that is how I became to know Waldorf education and to learn about Desert Marigold as well as being a part of the Mountain Oak school community there in Prescott. I am a early childhood teacher. I have had a in-home care business as well as having taught in the preschool there at Mountain Oak for a couple of years. But currently I'm a stay-at-home mom. COVID has kind of put the halt on me trying to get back into a classroom. But just staying at home, staying busy within the school. The avid parent volunteer at DMS. I had been a vendor coordinator for the winter fair a couple of years that I'd been here. And that was pretty fun getting to know some outside of the community people who wanted to be a part of our wonderful event. And then just continued involvement with animal care and the garden and parent council. And now I'm here.
Excellent. I'm happy to have you here. So, and thank you for that. And I realize that although I sent each of you the interviewees, the questions we were going to be asking tonight, I neglected to actually send them on to the board. They are the same 12 questions we've asked for the last several cycles, but I just put them in your inbox now. So to give everybody else on the board time to open that document up and go through. Oh, April's ready. She's got them. Okay, go ahead, April. You can ask the next one.
All right. The next question is, what made you interested in joining the board? And let's start with Nellie.
The few meetings that I was able to attend, every Gregory put out a plea, almost like pains of just needing people to join the board. And I immersed myself in what I'm passionate about. And I feel that the school students need advocating for, and being on the board is a way to advocate for the students to make sure that they're provided a wholesome Waldorf education. So I wanted to make sure that rather than being a bystander in the school and a parent that was just at drop off and pick up, if there was a plea to get involved and the highest involvement that you can get is joining the board, then I felt that it was important that I step up and submit an application.
Let's go Adeline and then Barb.
Well, a few years ago, I had considered it when that same plea had been kind of given to the community, and I'd considered it, but I didn't feel like I was ready. I had only been to maybe a few in-person meetings, and even when I went then, I was kind of unsure what was going on. So I really felt like I needed to be more prepared. And so since then, I've tried to be more active in coming to meetings and really paying attention and taking notes and listening to all the ins and outs, the struggles that our school has had over the years. And definitely COVID has kind of helped with that since I can do it right from my home. But I look forward to us being back in person and having that holding that space together again. That would be wonderful. So that's kind of it. Just want to be involved, want to help where I can. And this was kind of, at the moment, this was where I could maybe put in some effort right now.
I believe it's my turn next, correct? Okay. Well, I have a desire to serve the school, and I have tried a few different ways, and it definitely seems like this is the steering body of the school. And although our board has a lot of financially sound minds on it, shall we say. I thought that perhaps a different perspective that I could bring of a holistic view of our community and the healthy social life, just a different perspective of how to inspire our community to rally behind the board and perhaps bring a different point of view to the board of our powerful community, let's say. I love the school and I would love to see it thrive. And I think, so far you guys have really done a great job surviving the storms that we've been through in the last few years. And I thought maybe perhaps it's time to look, especially with the school contemplation in the near future, perhaps it's time to have a different perspective with a holistic community perspective. Thanks.
Great.
Sorry, Kristen, I'm trying to catch up with my typing. Yes, thank you.
So I'll kind of echo what everyone said. I'm really inspired to serve. We love the DMS community, the school, particularly this last year, watching how the board navigated such uncharted territories with COVID and everything that we were already faced with. I just felt really inspired to be more active and find kind of that space and want to apply for the board and serve in that way.
All right. Dan, are you ready to move on to the next question?
Sure. Next question is, what skills do you have that you think will fit and serve the school as a board member? And let's start with Adeline.
Well, again, having just being an early childhood teacher, I mean, I can bring maybe a little bit of the aspect of and having had been on a faculty before, maybe have a little perspective there. But I bring, good communication skills. I have an ability and a desire to be a part of a team and keep that teamwork going. I love organizing. I know that's not like usually someone's, love, but if it's put to me to kind of bring together a collaboration of minds, I'm all there. I actually, when Emma started 9th grade, I actually saw there was a lack of parent involvement or a parent kind of teacher aspect. And I went to Michael Martin at the time and I said, I just want you to know, like, I'm going to be a very active parent, even though it seems like the parents are kind of put on the foreground. I think we need to be more of a presence. And that's when I gathered the other parent reps and we came together and we knocked out Halloween Carnival before COVID. I felt like that was a super awesome mix of people who came together and just we rocked it. So I'm really proud of us for that and proud that I'm kind of helping continue that same mindset of teamwork and working together, all of us.
Barb?
Well, I feel like you bring a very unique perspective, which are what I'm claiming are my skills. I started as a parent in the community and within, a short period of time was hired on. And for 8 years, I got to study alongside of some amazing seasoned Waldorf teachers. And it really gave me an interesting window when I was with parents to bring perspective of staff. And when I was with staff to bring the perspective of parents, I have an insatiable appetite for understanding many things, and that really seems to bring a great harmonious collaborative experience with groups that I've worked in. And I love Waldorf.
Yeah. Melly?
In the letter of intent, when you guys list what the jobs are of the board, you know, two of the big things are you deal with the legal aspects and the financial aspects. And those are definitely two things that I say to my letter of intent, that I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an accountant. But one thing that I'm really good at is community building and engaging people. And, you know, with that, I have a whole other subset of skills that I'm very good at task jobs. I'm very good at event planning. And I'm not afraid to step out and bring people in. And it's part of my personality. You know, I could all of a sudden have a group of 25 people that have no idea who they are, yet they're at my house for dinner. And I'm okay with that. I'm not afraid to invite people, you know, into my house, into a community, and make sure that everyone is a part. And I think that that's the beauty of Waldorf, is that having community is a huge component of it. And our community, our country, our families, everyone has just spent a whole year suffering. And we need to build our community back, and we need to build the community back to build the school. And I'm not afraid to bring people together at all.
Thank you. And Kirsten.
So I think the skills that I would bring are based more from my professional background. I was an accountant for about, well, I won't say how many years, a lot of years. So I have just kind of a passion for being creative on revenue generation as well as expense management. So I think just coming from more of a corporate environment adds just kind of a different flavor, you know, or a different lens to look at things through. So that's something that I think I can bring. I've worked in a lot of different industries. I'm currently a solution engineer, so I deal with a lot of different people. I deal with their challenges every day, and I try to map their challenges to a solution to build that. So I think that translates really well into, you know, ways that the board will come up with you know, different strategies, and being able to effectively communicate and execute those types of things as well.
Cool. Thank you. Next question, Emily.
Jen, why don't I'll give you the choice of who goes next.
John, you want to go next?
Thank you. Question number 5. Question number 4. In your opinion, what is the biggest concern facing Desert Marigold right now? And why don't we go? Why don't we do Nellie, Kirsten, Barb, and then Adeline, please?
Being fresh to the community and being new and having this be my first year here, I think that the biggest concern and the biggest problem facing DMS right now is DMS. I've talked to a lot of people, and it seems that, everyone is scarred and still hurt, and it's still a fresh wound of whatever has been going on in the administration over the past 3 years. I still, I've gotten bits and pieces of this story, and it's still just like, okay, stop. And how do we just move forward and get over that? And I think to be able to, it seems like there's so many hurt personalities and hurt feelings that the community as a whole needs to heal from that, whatever all of the problems were over the past 3 years, and move forward, because the only way that the school is going to thrive is to stay where we are now and move forward and not dwell on the past of what has happened, because it's gone. We have the board, we have fresh administration, and positive changes are being made. So I think that, DMS problem is DMS, and we need to let go and move forward and heal and build.
Great. I'm going to take a different direction with, in my opinion, I think our biggest challenge is going to be a financial one, not just maintaining, kind of the status quo, but how do we start building more financial reserves to be able to take on bigger projects, something that's more sustainable, so we're not, constantly sort of against the struggle, and be able to create, more with that, those financial, hopefully reservoirs that we're able to build.
Great, thank you.
If it's my turn, I think that the biggest concern facing DMS, in my opinion, would be the loss of the institutional knowledge and seasoned Waldorf teachers. I feel like in order to, bring the quality of Waldorf education that our community needs, we really need to at least have 51% of Waldorf trained teachers. So I really feel like, there's, with the loss of some of the history in the past, goes a lot of great wisdom that I think in the future will be missing.
Thank you.
Okay, my turn. I can echo those responses as well. Kirsten, I definitely think there should be an emphasis on fundraising, on bringing funds in, and keeping it a sustainable source. I have noticed there has been quite a lack of the threefold order. And that, if you can picture a Venn diagram, 3 little bubbles that all kind of connect, the board, faculty, staff, administration in another bubble, and parents, alumni, and the outer lying community outside of our school. There's a huge lack of that. And I think that's where we probably, the reason why, Nellie, why we're where we are. Because all of those have not been connecting and communicating and working together to ensure the success of our school. I see little bits and pieces of it kind of coming back together with the hiring of Frank. That has been kind of the moment for a few of us that have felt the lack of this threefold order. So I will hope that we can get back there someday soon, maybe with this contemplation, there'll be some of that coming back.
Thank you.
Great. Danielle, I think it's your turn then.
I have 5 through 14.
We'll start with 5.
What is going well at DMS? And Barb, Kristen, Adeline, Nellie.
Thank you. Well, I think for one thing, those of us that are still there are the diehards, and I think that the love has never stopped. And I truly do believe that every single community member, whether you're part of the admin, you're part of the faculty, or you're part of our families, everyone is doing the best with what we've been served up with. And I think there's a lot to be said for the love that our community has for this school. So I'd say that my answer is that I know that everyone and the board, I'm sorry, I apologize if I didn't include that in there. I feel like everyone is really doing the good work.
Thank you.
I'll echo what you said, Barb. I think it's, the love has always been there. And I think a couple of things that I think are going really well are, the hiring of the executive director, Frank. I think he's doing a phenomenal job so far from my limited view. And I feel like overall the school is pulling back together through the community, through the board, through faculty and staff. I think there's just that real neat intersection right now of where everyone's kind of rowing in the same direction. And I think that's largely been headed up by the board and by, hiring a good leadership to steer it.
Thank you.
I'll say ditto to that. We finally have a leader in you, Frank. So I definitely appreciate the board for bringing him in, and he has taken to flight with that, and that's been wonderful. He's shown that in this short time with us that he is committed to the success of our school, and just such a friendly person. And that's exactly what our school needed in that moment. We needed a loving face, a loving, embrace, even from the cyber world, of hearing that you are just loving the children and you're, getting to work, rolling up your sleeves, doing what needs to get done. That has been great, as well as hearing that the board has really kind of taken on those moments where we could capture some money to the school during all this time, being able to grab those grants or those funds that were available for us during this time. I commend you on being diligent and getting the work that needed to get done for that. I think faculty and staff probably also kind of brought their, gusto in with that, so that we can ensure that, we're on a more stable ground financially now. It seems anyway. I know it's still a work in progress, but we're getting there.
Thank you.
I have it in my notes too, the turn in administration. Just since Frank has come in and you work well with the board, and all of you collectively have come together to make sure that you're keeping the community whole. And I feel that, the core of Waldorf, my boys are in 7th grade and they're on their, this is a new school for them and they're on their 3rd teacher, yet they still come home happy. And they still love their class and they love doing their classwork and they love making their main lesson books. And so at the core, with small, young teenagers, they're still happy to go to school and they're still happy to be there. And the same goes with my fifth graders. Even though they thankfully have only had one teacher this year, they're still happy and they're just grateful to be held tightly in the Waldorf environment that is what they know, and it's what their core is. And that's what's working, is that through all of the external chaos that's going on the higher levels and bleeding out from into the world, the kids are still encapsulated in their classrooms in the core Waldorf, and that couldn't be done without the overseeing from the board and the administration.
Thank you. How you doing, April?
I think I have some new disease of my wrists, but I'm fine. I'm chugging along. You guys speak quickly, but it's fine.
So I'm going to skip question 6 because I think you all covered it in your answers to this last one. And that question was, what has the board done well this past year? So let's jump ahead to question 7. What could the board do better or differently? And let's go Adeline, Kirsten, Barb, and then Nellie.
Well, it's tough to say because there's a lot of things we don't see being done outside of these meetings. But I get this feeling that as the group, as a collective, it doesn't appear that there's any no one's a student of anthroposophy, or no one's showing how they're bringing that to board business. So I think that's kind of where it's lacking. And sometimes I'm not sure. I mean, I've read a few of the bylaws and how meetings are ran. Sometimes it seems a little unorganized. So maybe there could use some improvement.
You'll notice the theme with me is that it's going to be financially focused. So I can't help myself. I'm an accountant. You guys should consider yourself lucky that I'm not telling you accounting jokes right now, because it could get worse. But I do think that being able to raise money, not just from the community members, but maybe a little bit more creativity there. And I'll kind of caveat what Adeline said, as well as, there's things that obviously that I'm not aware of. So, there may be all kinds of efforts being made to raise money in different ways. And I think just being a little bit more creative around how can we get, outside money or bigger dollars is something that could be explored a little bit further.
Well, in my opinion, I would like to see a more balanced and diverse board, and meaning that I really liked the suggestion that I heard at the town hall meeting that Peter spoke about at one point. I thought he said there was 3 parents, 3 community members, 3 faculty on a board. I thought that was really interesting, or maybe even as close to half men, half women, or a representative from EC grades, high school, alumni parents, just something that gives what I would like to see a wider sample of our community, which is really big. And I feel like I would like to see more people's voices be represented. I do understand that finances are important, and it seems like the great people that you have on the board right now seem to have that covered. One perspective that I would like to plant the seed about is perhaps now that all the bases are covered, we could start focusing more on the community building, because I have a sense that when the community is feeling able to participate back into DMS, I think that you will see that the pocketbooks open up more freely. And I feel like sometimes you guys in the past have put the cart before the horse, started asking money when the families were feeling more restricted at the time with access to the campus or just access to each other. So that would be it. Thanks.
Again, what Adeline said, there's a lot that you guys do behind the scenes that we don't see and that we don't know how involved. You know, we know you're involved, but we don't know how much of a commitment it is. But I would have to also agree, and maybe it's because I'm a New Yorker, the meetings sometimes are a struggle. And there was also one instance that, you know, I presented an idea to the board a couple months ago, and I felt that it was a really strong idea involving the high school. And Greg, I feel that your email back to me was kind of just like, this isn't my job. You know, maybe Frank will take care of it. And I feel like in such a small school where we're struggling so much that even if it might be something that could be out of your scope, to even just have a little follow through of this isn't my job. Hey, Frank, let's make sure that we don't drop the ball on this and we take care of, you know, to keep the ball rolling. And when I had originally sent that email out, it wasn't until 6 weeks later that I actually was able to get in touch with someone from the high school. And it was only because I put myself on campus and found the people that I needed to talk to. And I think that it's a thankless job being on the board, and it's a time consumer and it's volunteering. But I think that in a small community where it's such a specific type of community and education that everything has to work together, and we have to, you know, all of the components, even if you're on the board, need to be able to, you know, we need to build. So everything has to be committed to building, whether that's the community or fundraising or just keeping the school together. It all has to, we might have to go above and beyond a little bit.
Thank you all, and a fair criticism, Nellie, and apologies now for not handling that to your satisfaction, but I'm glad you finally got an answer. In way of explanation, but not defense, several months ago was quite a difficult time for the board because of COVID and everything going on. So my personal time constraints were quite a bit consumed, but apologies again. All right, with that said, April, take us on to the next one.
What is your availability for time commitment to the board? Let's start with Kirsten and then Adeline.
So when I'm passionate about something, I find the time, and that's kind of a vague answer. So I do work full time. I'm a mom. You know, I do have other responsibilities in my life, but again, service at DMS has been something that's been a priority in my life for a lot of years. And so I feel like I have the capacity to serve where I need to and how much I need to.
Same. I'm a busy mom, trying to get back in the classroom as well. But when I commit to something, I commit, and I will find time where needed.
Let's go Nellie and then Barb.
I have the time and availability. I've lost my job because of COVID, so I probably won't be going back for a while. So I'm available days and nights, and it's something that I'm passionate about, you know, being involved in the school and being involved in Waldorf and seeing that through for the community. So I have a full commitment level.
And, you know, I'm on the threshold of being an alum parent, so apparently I'll have nothing but time. And I just would like to say, you know, when we skipped over question 6, I did have a lot of good things I wanted to say that the board's done this year. And so can I just say them very quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm sorry because I kind of gave my pat answer, but I definitely want to acknowledge it is really exciting to see how the finances have come to meet the school, and that is not an easy task. I thought you guys did a great job with COVID. I love the new executive director, and I was probably vocal about concerns about the way that he was being found, but he's amazing, the perfect guy for the job. I loved the town hall that you guys did, and I really love that you approved the school contemplation, and thank you for letting me say that.
You got it. Dan, you want to take us on?
Sure. If selected as a board member, what committee or projects would you like to focus on in your first year? And I'm going to start with Barb.
Well, in my first year, as you know, I'm very passionate about our community, and I would love to team up with whatever committee is working on the Alliance full membership. I know that takes some time, but I feel well versed in our community and the core principles, and I would love to help us get that service mark.
Thank you. Kirsten?
It's a difficult question to answer for me because I don't know what initiatives the board is already working on and where I might be able to jump in and help. So, but if I had to pick one and not give, kind of a vague answer, I think I would like to work on things like contract negotiations. And I'm really good at that. And, kind of like the internet, we've had a lot of challenges with this year. Who's our internet provider? Who's a servicer? What's going on there? Kind of digging into, maybe that's a little bit too granular, but if it's something that one person can do and find a solution to, not only have that be more efficient, but also something that works a little bit better would be really exciting for me.
Thank you. Kelly?
I would work well with community outreach, event planning, and fundraising.
Thank you. Adeline?
Same here. I would love to help Frank in any way that we could with marketing and outreach. And I would love to be able to help Barb with keeping our relationships with RSF and the Alliance. I think those are very important for us to keep if we're, we want to hold to that Waldorf standard for ourselves.
Thank you.
Mr. Tanner, you want to take us on to question 10?
Question 10. What conflicts of interest do you anticipate as a board member, and how will you manage them? So let's see. What if we go Barb, Nellie, Adeline, and Kirsten, please?
Thank you. I do not anticipate any conflicts of interest as a board member.
Thank you.
I don't anticipate that it'll be a conflict of interest, but I will always advocate for the core Steiner Waldorf education.
Thank you.
If it's a conflict, I guess being a parent, but to combat that, I would just steer clear of conversations that could lead to board business, kind of create a new social distance for myself with matters that might occur.
Thank you.
I think inevitably there's always conflict of interest in our lives. For me, I'm a parent, and there may be things that I feel are necessary for my children that aren't necessarily the best interest for the school as a whole. And so that is something I would consider a conflict of interest. It's not kind of going to throw me off kilter or anything, but I think that would be, a bit of a struggle. My personal way to combat that is having worked on a lot of teams with a lot of different personalities and a lot of different initiatives. You don't always have to agree to be able to step back and see the greater good. So for me, being able to, just kind of look at it from the lens of a board member or community member, what's best for the overall, group or committee, as opposed to just me individually as a parent.
Thank you.
Danielle, I think you're up.
Oh, okay. Is that correct, 11? Can you see yourself working well with others?
Can you reread that, Danielle? It's more specific than that.
No, I cannot. Can you read it off for me?
Yes.
I hand wrote these.
Oh, can you see yourself working well with all board members?
Thank you. So can you see yourself working well with all board members? Barb, Kirsten, Nellie, Adelaide?
I do see myself working well with all the board members because I value what is in the highest good for Desert Marigold.
Thank you.
I can also see myself working well with all the board members. I don't know them all, so it's hard to, say for certainty, but I tend to work well with everyone. And I'll echo what Barb said. I care deeply for the school, which, kind of gives that cohesion.
Thank you.
I think that I would definitely work well with the board members. I tend to always be a team player and make sure that voices are heard and advocate for both sides, advocate where I just believe so hard in Waldorf. And I think that if you're on the board, you definitely want to see this through. And I think that everyone can come to agreements and have conversations because we all have a vested interest in making sure that the school and the education stand strong and true.
Thank you.
Yes, I do see myself working well with the current board members. And if conflict arises, I'd be finding common ground through honest communication because I feel like that's the key to making a team work.
Thank you. Let's see if I copied 12 correctly. What questions do you have for the board?
Nellie, why don't we let you go first on that one, since I think you've been second, third, or fourth every time tonight so far.
That's okay. My feelings aren't hurt. How many spaces are you looking to fill in? And ideally, how big would you like the board to be?
So our bylaws say that we can be up to 11. So, we have lots of space, 6 spaces. So 2 more than we even have candidates for. I think 11 would be a great number to have at the end of the day, just because I think our community is diverse enough that having that many voices on the board is helpful, and that many hands to help with the work would be helpful too.
I don't have many other questions. That was all. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Adeline?
I guess mine's kind of a two-part question. Am I able to direct a question to just one board member, or does it have to be an all?
No, it's up to you.
Okay. I suppose my question then needs to be directed to Mr. Tanner. He is our board member, faculty member, LDC member here tonight. I need to know how will you build a healthy relationship with the high school faculty to ensure that your current students and the likelihood of other classes to follow will choose DMS for their high school years?
I really appreciate that question. I've already started working with Mr. Maurizio about building bridges with the high school. So we want to see a coordinated effort between the middle school and the high school so that the students and really their parents can really see that as a viable option. I mean, ultimately, we want people to decide in freedom. But yeah, I think that's a very critical path. And as I said, I've started to work with Frank with that, and I look forward to the success.
That's wonderful. That's music to my ears. I've always said that there's an invisible bridge on campus right there near that those bathrooms by the 8th grade classroom. And there's little gnomes out there still building it, but it needs to get built. And so I'm grateful for that answer, Mr. Tanner, to hear that you are working towards that. I know Emma is going to be a senior next year, but you can bet that I will be there to help continue that bridge and those communications with the middle school and the high school through on to Gavin's years that he's now beginning at DMS.
Kirsten?
I'm not sure who to direct it to, so maybe whoever wants to jump in and take this one. I'd love to hear about the biggest lesson that you've learned by joining the board and what was kind of most eye-opening for you in that experience so far.
I'd love to take this one. If anyone else wants to chime in, go for it. I would say before I joined the board, I thought I really had a handle on what was happening and what was going on, whether it was with faculty or administration or parents. And I knew about this much. Everyone here tonight has said, we know there are things going on that we don't know about. And that is very true. There are things going on that you don't know about. And as a board member, you cannot speak about it. Learning that really gave me some sympathy for parents who, maybe are really upset or really concerned, and they come forward with these concerns, but they know this much about what's happening. And so it gives you some perspective. But it was a quick like knockdown when I joined the board to realize, oh boy, I really didn't know what was happening. And the other piece of that is just how much that is a responsibility as a board member to keep confidential matters confidential. And it doesn't matter who's telling you what and what rumors are being spread. You have to hold to that. And it's tough. It's a hard job because a lot of people say a lot of things and you just have to be okay with that. But a lot of lessons learned.
Thank you.
I'd love to answer that one as well, but maybe an email the night before so I can give a shorter answer. When I finished my foundation studies at DMS, I had a wonderful network of being friends with parents, being friends with faculty, and being friends with people from other Waldorf schools outside of the community. And then I took a break. And so I feel like I'm brand new this year. Like I took a completely 2-year break, went through a transition myself. And so it was eye-opening that, you feel like you're rebuilding and you're starting fresh and you're starting new. And how do you move forward and where do you begin? What areas to concentrate on? And so that's where I am right now, is starting to figure out what are our goals? What do we want to see happening? A big push would be student programming. I haven't heard anyone mention that, but we had so much more that we were offering to our students. And it was a longer school day as well. So I'd like to figure out how we can incorporate that. So the eye-opening was rebuilding these relationships and finding out where I fit in. So I did feel very new coming back into the school and wanting to serve and help. And May 1st, I do plan on doing a virtual fundraiser. So I hope you're all registering. We are going to have game night and raffle baskets. And it is the first push that I've experienced to raise funds for the board. And so this would be something to build on, but I'm hoping that'll get exposure and interest. And again, to be able to be the sustainability and to bring the community together and the faculty. And that was what I appreciated about my journey here at DMS.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Right, well, I think that takes us to you, Bart.
Thank you. I too have 2 questions. The first question, and anyone can answer it that feels the need. Do you value community feedback in whichever form we've had in the past, the community comments, the public comments, the town hall meetings, as just a way for checks and balances? Do you value community feedback, and do you foresee, I guess this might be a third question, do you foresee any of that coming back?
Yes. Unequivocally. We value the community feedback. I think we struggled a while ago when we were getting a lot of criticism that wasn't constructive criticism, but became kind of openly hostile. And that's when we turned off the public comments in the board meetings. But I thought the town hall that we had was wonderful. And I think that really is a better format for those types of questions, because it allows for a dialogue, which is what really needs to happen, and not just a public statement that then the board, acknowledges, but then doesn't really respond to, because we're stuck with our agenda, and we can kind of respond to it, but we can't really engage with it or openly discuss it. So it's not really the right forum for that, I don't think. So I would like to do more town halls and more consistently, and thank you for bringing it up, because I'd like to do another one before the end of the school year, if we can squeeze it in somehow. I know there's a lot between now and the end of May, but I think it would be good for the school.
And if I may just make a suggestion.
Weeknight.
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that's nice about the town hall meeting is you can see who's there. So maybe if you felt like there was more confidence and trust there, that we would be able to see the other people that are there. And by the way, I love when you announce how many people are on the board, watching the board, by the way. And my last question is, do you feel it would be beneficial and healthy, and again, anybody can answer this, that at least 51% of the board was perhaps studying Steiner or Waldorf education as just a side, because they're part of the steering body? Does anybody feel like that would be like a realistic, healthy, board enhancing thing to do?
Well, I mean, I think ideally 100% of the board would be participating in education about anthroposophy and Steiner and Waldorf. But I think we as a board have an obligation to build that into board meetings and that sort of thing, because people are extremely constrained on their time. And, you know, when you get involved in different specific projects and you're parenting and you've got work, and it's kind of like, well, is the 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is that you have to read something random that you find on your own, is that truly valuable education time? Whereas if we could actually bring in someone like Liz Bevan, like we did not long ago, and have a true expert speak to us, I feel like that's a more valuable way to educate the whole board when everybody's there and actually have a back and forth discussion somewhat. So that's my vision of how we get everybody on the board educated. Obviously, I think it would be helpful if people are doing even more on their own, but I guess I'm just more of a realist. I know a lot of people are just not going to have a lot of extra time for in-depth independent research.
I will plug, Parent Council hosts a book club on Monday nights, which would be nice to participate if anyone's open to. And that's right now Raising Humans in the Digital World. And we just finished off the Waldorf community. I am participating in a Steiner study book on every 2 weeks. But again, that's been going on for a good while. And it is more effective to do it as a group or to come together with open discussion.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here and for engaging in this somewhat awkward process of interviewing publicly and being asked all the same questions right next to each other. So as I mentioned in my email, we will reconvene with all of you on May 5th. And that's when we'll make the elections to the board and do the voting. And I'll be in touch with a little bit more detail about how that's going to go. And we'll also open it up to a little bit more back and forth dialogue like we just had tonight for any questions that pop up between now and then. So thanks again. And I'm going to put you guys back in the participant list. And Barb, there are 28 people on this call this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Let's see. Well, apparently I don't have a way to demote you from being panelists. So if you could just turn off your cameras.
Yeah.
All right. So let's through some of this financial stuff, because I think the meat of our discussion tonight is going to be COVID related. Frank and Dan, where are we on the next fiscal year's budget? Has that process started yet, now that we've mostly finished the current year's revisions?
It has not with Monique yet. She wasn't quite ready to take out projections because, as you know, the top projection is what is the actual student count? Mm-hmm. We have up to 326 applications out and 288 are in. Of course, that is 44 higher than in January. So that's really good, but there's still another 40 that Crystal is trying to get. And of course, all of that makes a big difference in what we can do. And I know Dan knows this as well. There's so many layers to this. the funding for student enrollment is one, and we do feel like it's going up. The funding from ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, it's there, but I really would like to not spend that on salary, because then you just have that person's salary for 1 year and it's gone. I'd like to spend that on capital stuff that will be there for 8, 10, 12 years. I'm also in negotiations with our health insurance. It looks like we were able to gain access to a charter group of 7 other schools and join them. And the bid should be in next week. And they're projecting a 10 to 15% savings on our overall premiums. Now that's something that we can use for salaries. As you know or don't know, every employee has approached me about, are we getting a raise? Is there going to be an increase? Is there enough money? Can we have a choir teacher? Can we have an art teacher? Can we have a strings teacher? There's lots of personnel needs and wants. And that's going to be twofold. One, do we have enough student enrollment increasing to solidify that for long periods of time? And two, can I decrease some bills like health insurance that typically go down 10 or 15% in this situation, but they'll start creeping up each year. Every year, an insurance company gives you a 4, 6, 8% increase. So Monique and I are trying to attack it on both ends and come up with a projection. As you saw in my report to you, it looks like all the staff we have this year, we are going to be able to start. Well, right now, I can say we're at least having all of those staff back. Staffing is not decreasing. The question is going to be, if we really are getting 30, 40, 60 more kids, what should we spend that money on?
Got it.
Dan, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, so you talked about enrollment for next year, and where are we? So I think we've already covered that, actually, because I think things are fairly well fixed for the rest of this year. So, all right, let's take a look at our profit and loss and balance sheet. Let me throw those up on the screen. All right, so here's our profit and loss. This is what Monique has sent us. So this is year to date, July 2020 through March 2021. The big obvious one is the net income down here at the bottom, where it looks like we are very well in the black for the year through March. Now, obviously, we have more expenses to get through the end of this fiscal year, all the way through June, so that number very well could change, and I think Monique is projecting that that number actually goes down quite a bit by the end of the year, but that's very good. Our tuition from individuals, our income is fairly low, but that's just a COVID year thing. Our tax credit contributions, lower than I think we'd like to see them. I think going into next year, we're going to make a bigger push on that one. Hopefully with some of these new board members, we'll have more hands to make that push. And then our state revenue and federal revenue year to date. So puts us at about 2.2 million. And then we have our expenses, regular education, special education, Prop 301, so that's 1.8. Then we have our expenses associated with the private kindergarten or private preschool, private kindergarten, and depreciation expense, which adds another 155,000 to the expenses and leads us to that net operating income. All right, so then let's jump over to the balance sheet. And all right, so our cash position is still looking pretty good as of the end of March, about $317,000 total in cash. 66,000 of that is restricted funds. That's the 301 money, restricted contributions, that sort of thing. And then we have 245,000 additional in our checking account. Then our accounts receivable, that's the state money and federal money, I think, that we expect to get, it would be for April. Right there, 226,000. Oh, sorry, we would not include the federal. And also due from federal is this $27,000 down here, which I believe is for the IDEA money. And then, so that's, and then our fixed assets, we've got our land, we've got the buildings and improvements on the land, we've got vehicles and equipment, and then we have our accumulated depreciation with our total assets at about 2.7 million. And you contrast that with our liabilities and equity. We've got some accounts payable, we've got some credit cards, got, looks like some payroll that needs to go out. We've got our copier expense. We have some deposits for the private program that we'll have to credit towards that program. And then we have, of course, our long-term liabilities, the mortgage on the property with RSF, and some other smaller ones that we have. So, and then we have equity, our retained earnings, and net income gives us our total equity of a total equity of 1.2 million and our total liabilities and equity of 2.7. So it balances out with the assets. All right. Any questions on those documents tonight?
If I could point something out, Greg.
Yes.
This sheet may seem deceiving when you forget 2 board meetings ago, she showed us the projection through June 30th of the rest of the budget. And that showed that we're going to be about 27,000 in the black. This shows something different because it's not taking into account all of those April, May, and June's expenditures without any income, because we aren't getting as much income the rest of the year. So I trust that end of the year budget number better than I do this number, because this is just where we are as of the end of March. Am I correct in saying it that way, Greg?
Yes. Yeah. We're I think this is a, too optimistic view of the world right now. This is not where we're going to end up. I think things are still going to look good at the end of the year, but it's not going to be this rosy.
And I point that out because I'm very open with LDC and teachers about where our budget is. And if they just saw that number tonight, they would think, what's Frank talking about? I can buy that thing that I need for my room. Well, that's not entirely true. We really are cutting it close. And I'm trying to make sure we have some extra money and don't go under. This is just through March, doesn't include April, May, and June. So I just want to point that out.
Right. And to your point about having extra money, most of that extra money we were going to have to play with is going to come from new students that enroll in the fall, not from extra that we have from this school year. All right. I'll stop sharing. Back to the agenda. All right, so last time we met, we talked about approval of the revised budget for the remainder of this school year. Danielle, I think you had some questions about that. were those answered to your satisfaction?
Yes, I had a phone call with Monique today. She answered every single one of them. So thank you and thank her.
Okay. Are there any other questions or concerns about that budget that Monique sent us? Okay. Well, in that case, I will move to approve the revised budget for the remainder of fiscal year 2020 to 2021 for submission to ADE that was presented to us by Monique Garza. Dan, I think you were seconding, but you were on mute.
I second. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Do you have that written down, Gregory? I missed about half of it.
I don't. But I can probably say it again.
I have moved to approve the revised budget for the remainder of the 2020 to 2020. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so tired. You guys, you know what year it is. And then after that, I lost it. But then you finish it off with as presented by Monique Garza.
Yeah. So
So I need the middle.
school year for submission to ADE is all that you missed.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I missed who seconded.
Dan.
Did.
Okay, great. Thank you. Got it.
All right. All those in favor? All right, that's unanimous. The motion is carried. All right, so that takes us on to our next agenda item, updates from Frank about things going on at the school. I know we've covered a lot already tonight. Frank, anything else you want to update us on?
The one specific thing that was new to my board report, I'm happy to report that we have completed evaluations on the grades teachers, the high school teachers, the early childhood teachers, the classified workers, which is non-certified teachers, front office, aides, maintenance and operations. The only group that is not getting evaluated this year is the specialty teachers. And as I promised you earlier, beginning next year, there will be a plan for every single employee to be evaluated. I feel like hitting 3 of those 4 groups was a great start in the semester I've been here. And because I have those done, I have now issued contracts to all teachers, and classified workers will get them the first week of May. Teachers' contracts are due back, I believe, this Friday. And by all accounts, everyone that we offered a contract to is turning in a contract to come back next year. I feel really good about evals and contracts, that we are way ahead of the what has happened in the past. And so I feel good about that. And I wanted you guys to know that.
Excellent. Board members, any other questions for Frank?
Do I dare bring up the parking lot?
Well, Danielle, as I told you in my email today, we had a staff meeting today right after school, which I believe I addressed what we think the problem is. And that is the fact that our teachers are not all getting out to the lot with the students at 2 o'clock. They're coming at different times, 2, 2:04, 2:08, 2:18. And that's just causing parents to sit and wait and wait and wait. And then the parents are getting frustrated. And then when they get frustrated, they yell things. And so I hope that meeting today made some things really clear, that we have to be there by 2 o'clock. The students need to be sitting on those benches at 2 o'clock. There was no pushback. All the staff understands what the expectation is. And we hope moving forward tomorrow that will happen. I will tell you that's only half the problem. Another problem is taking place on 28th Street, and that is due to the fact that our school and the George Gervin School arrive and leave at the same time. And so our parents keep trying to go into their parking lot to make U-turns. And then when they stopped them from doing that, our parents started making U-turns on the street. Not only is it illegal, it's unsafe. They get unsavory with the security guard from George Gervin, and it's a little embarrassing for us. And so I am contemplating asking the police to come out and watch 28th Street. And if they have to give tickets, then so be it. Because I've asked the parents, I need more cooperation there. You can't make a U-turn on that street. You cannot. It is unsafe. And so I'm close to doing that. I have not done it yet. I'm going to go out there tomorrow morning and watch it again. Hopefully there won't be any U-turns. People will just drop their student off and go straight down the street. I know it's a line, but we're landlocked back there, as you know. It's not a simple solution for exit in and exit out.
I know in the past we've staggered start and end times. I don't know if that can be considered, but I know we've done that in the past.
Well, I'm actually talking with the principal over there to see if we can stagger with each other so that both schools aren't dropping off at the same time. Even 20 minutes makes a huge difference, because if you do it right, your drop-off the whole school can be dropped off in 20 minutes. And so she's a very nice lady. I've talked to her on the phone now, and we're setting up a meeting in the upcoming weeks to start talking about that and possibly sharing an art teacher as well. So.
And then were we going to look at having something in place when we do see a mass exit of students from a single class?
I don't understand that question. I think could you explain that, what you mean?
So if we are seeing a large number of students withdraw from a single class, are there other steps that we can put in place, or something that can happen? What, is it an evaluation? Is it a community? Is it something to help prevent, of course, the leave of students?
I'm hoping that this is I fear that can happen, not that that is happening.
In my years at DMS, I've seen it happen a couple of times with different teachers. So just wondering what we can do, especially around the grades that are going to be entering into the high school. Just to know if we had some kind of review or research.
Before we get into discussing that, I think we're straying a little far from what we have on the agenda, since this is not like a current issue facing the school that Frank's reporting on. So with that said, I'm happy to put it on the agenda for the next time, and then maybe you and Frank can touch base offline.
Thank you.
On this, and we'll talk about it next time. But sorry to cut that short. But.
No, thank you. That'd be fine.
Danielle, I know you come to campus every couple of days. Could you just come in the front office? I'll make time for you. I'll sit down with you and we can talk about it. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Where was I, Gregory?
Well, I cut you off. So let's see. I don't recall.
I think it was a finished report.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, any other questions, board members?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say kudos to Frank and team for rolling out these AZ merit tests with just like such ease. Everyone here knows my kid's been remote all year. I had all kinds of concerns about it. People reached out to me, I reached out to them, and I had zero concerns bringing my child in the way that it was managed. So I just wanted to say thank you. I think you guys all did a great job. So please pass that on to all of our teachers and staff.
I think you saw in my report that tomorrow's the last day, and then Friday we have a makeup, but we only have 6 kids scheduled for the makeup. So I'm with April. It went pretty smooth. Obviously, Deb Paolo deserves a lot of credit for all the stuff she does. but our staff, they understand it's all hands on deck. And every staff member was in a classroom, either as a lead teacher proctoring or as an assistant teacher proctoring. And we had a day this week with 5 teachers calling in sick on a test day. It just was something that happened. Things went on in people's lives, and everybody pulled together to make that go off without a hitch. And so kudos to my staff, kudos to Deb Paulo, kudos to Mr. Grossenbacher. Dan, your assistance too in the beginning with those computers. Just, it worked out really, really well. And I'm just very pleased. We're all glad testing's done.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Well, let's move on, because I think this next topic is going to take us at least a few minutes. And it's certainly one that we've received numerous emails on both sides from parents, and that's COVID-19 and the fact that Governor Ducey rescinded the mask mandate, stating that all schools, it worked in a way that schools are no longer required to have students wear masks. I don't know if opposition is the right word, but in contrast to Governor Ducey taking that action, the Arizona Department of Education issued a statement saying that continuing mask wearing in schools is a critical mitigation strategy. It should be continued. And they base that on the CDC, which also continues to say that mask wearing in schools is a key mitigation strategy, and it's what they would expect for a school that's going to have in-person learning going on. And that's for a variety of reasons, including the fact that cases continue to fluctuate. Many places still have high numbers of cases. There are new variants of the virus now circulating heavily that preliminarily may be affecting younger people more than they have in the past. So that's kind of the state of things as they are. We received, I don't know if it was an even number, but a good split between parents who felt strongly that we should loosen or remove our own mask policy, and parents who felt quite strongly that we should keep it the same. So with that said, that's the setting of the stage. So what I want to talk about tonight is, with 5 weeks left in the school year, and is this something that we want to change right now, where we've communicated to the parents who decided to bring their kids back to school, this is the way it's going to work. They made a risk calculus based on that. Is this something we want to adjust, or do we want to revisit this over the summer when several more months have gone by, and we'll see what the mitigation strategy looks like for fall of 2021?
So what was the question? I kind of, I mean, I understand.
Is that a motion?
So I'm just opening it up for discussion.
Okay.
This is where we are. Parents are obviously concerned on both sides. Do we want to take any action tonight to change the status quo?
I'm not an epidemiologist, and so I can only base my information on the research of epidemiologists and the medical community at large. And it largely, the message has been unchanged, without a few rather vocal standouts that have railed against the 98, 99% of the community that is saying that people should still keep wearing masks. So, I mean, and with such a short period of time remaining in the school year, it doesn't feel, and it does feel like it's fairly evenly split in the community. So it's going to make, our choice is going to make either half the people unhappy or half the people unhappy or happy. It's going to be either way.
Yeah. Well, I think we've gotten used to that over the last 13 months. But
Are the teachers currently offering the students any breaks at all from the masks? Besides eating?
I know the younger grades get breaks. Opal, my daughter has told me that she takes her mask off at certain times, sometimes, with the teacher's permission. In kinder.
The teachers have shared with the class, all you have to do is ask if you need a mask break, and they will let you step outside the room and take your mask off. They don't give you mask breaks in the room with kids sitting 4 feet from you. They let you step outside and do it, and no kid, to my knowledge, has been denied that request.
If we were to make it an optional and families wanted to ensure their child was masked all day, is that something teachers are willing to enforce or could even enforce?
Well, I would tell you that the biggest risk here is if we change our plan to accommodate what the governor's plan says, we risk sending 100 kids back to online. We are now down to, I think I gave you in my report,
53.
No, 42 now.
Oh, nice.
42 online. It has been inching down each week. We're really happy that our classrooms are filling up again. I believe from the letter I saw both letters, and one letter specifically said, please don't force us to go back online. We just came back. And that's my concern. And my other concern there is, look, that the dual hybrid teachers are just starting to see that lower. I'm afraid teachers will not like half their class here and half their class at home again. It's very difficult to do. Very difficult. It's a miracle all of us have made it through this far with hybrid.
We recently got an email just as board members from the state. It's like one of their weekly newsletters. And this was before the governor rescinded the mask mandate. And it had all of these different links that were brand new that had just come out all this month, talking about best practices in the schools from ADE, another one from the U.S. Department of Education, again, saying we should all be wearing masks in school. Obviously, the CDC is still saying we need to be wearing masks in school. So we just got that, and then we got this, Governor Ducey rescinded that. I tend to fall in line with being more cautious. And I just feel like there's more information out there that we've just received, specific to schools. I also agree with Frank's assessment that there are a lot of children who just finally feel safe enough to come back to the classroom with a mask, and those people would have to leave. A lot of them, I think, would. So it just makes sense at this point. We have 5 weeks left of school. I don't see any reason why we need to change it for 5 weeks. And as you said, Gregory, we can always reassess over the summer before the fall and see where everyone stands. But that's where I stand on this.
Mr. Tanner, your thoughts?
I agree with the conversation, and I appreciate the conversation. Having lived through this intimately, every day, having the students in the class is such a wonderful gift, not only for myself, but for the students academically, emotionally, and socially, that I don't want to do anything that's going to risk that situation, to have another precious day, to have all of the students be able to come into the school. I as uncomfortable or cumbersome as the masks are, they're doing the job for now. We can reevaluate for August, and I completely agree with Mr. Maurizio. Any student who asks for a mask break without any questions or argument, they may have a break. They step outside, take the mask off, do whatever you need to do. Come back in and get back to it. So I do not wish to alter the plan, the mitigation plan at this time whatsoever. And I do apologize to the people who feel differently. It's only 5 weeks. Let's get through it and finish the year strong.
All right. Danielle, did you? No, okay. Well, it doesn't sound like there's any appetite to change our mitigation strategy. So there's not really any action we would need to take as a board. So I think the mask policy that the school has stays in place as is. And that's, you know, I understand that's going to be upsetting to some people, but I agree with everybody here who's said, let's err on the side of letting the most kids be physically present in the classroom as we can. And Frank, go ahead.
Greg, is it fair to say that all of us are feeling, if we can get to August 1st, we're all feeling like the numbers are coming down, things are looking a little bit better, that there is a light at the end of this tunnel. And I think that the group that supports Governor Ducey's thoughts would feel good if they knew we at least see that. Now, obviously, barring some big, oh my gosh, a new strand came out and everybody's on lockdown again, that would change everything, of course. But if we keep heading the direction we're heading, I think everyone sees a light at the end of the tunnel. Is that fair to say?
I sure hope so. I mean, if we keep seeing people get vaccinated at the rate of 3 million a day and or more, and that's nationwide, but you know, it just in Arizona, every week we add about 3% more of people who have been vaccinated. So at that pace, by 4 months from now, things are going to look a lot different. So I we're not ruling anything out by deciding to finish the year with our current mitigation strategy.
Right.
We are, believe me, I would love it if we could get the schools back to normal as we possibly could, and all the kids could be in class and not have masks on and be free, like we're used to seeing kids in school be free. But we got to live with the reality of where we are right now, today. And so, I think we finished strong, like you said, Mr. Tanner, and keep things the way that they are, keep as many kids in the classroom as we possibly can. And we'll continue talking about this over the summer.
Yeah, Frank, Alec Greenspan used to say he was cautiously optimistic. And so I'm with Alec Greenspan here. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Same.
Yeah. All right. Well, that being said, is there anything else on COVID we need to discuss? All right. Okay, so that takes us then to our last agenda item, approving the minutes of our last meeting. So I will move to approve the minutes of our April 7th, 2021 meeting. Mr. Kenner is seconding that. All right, any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Motion carries. And as we've reached the end of our agenda, I will move to adjourn. And Mr. Kenner seconds again. Thank you, sir. All right, any discussion? All those in favor? All right, unanimous. Let's see, April, could you read the closing verse this time?
The most important tasks for humankind today and in the future is that we should learn to live together and understand one another. If this human fellowship is not achieved, all talk of development is empty. That's Rudolf Steiner.
Thank you, April, and thanks everybody for being here and for the good discussion. We will see you on May 5th. Have a good night.